Hello, hello, this is Matti. Hey, what's here? Well, it's a new guitar, at least for me, and I suppose I'm the first owner, so it's new for every practical purposes. And I spotted this Vintera, how you say it, Vintera II 60s model. Now I've been kind of on the lookout for a 60s spec Strat for quite a while. Unfortunately, there are no American vintage ones in the country as far as I know. Um, I kind of didn't feel like ordering one. So as soon as I found out that the next kind of sibling, the Vintera series, was on my local guitar store's website, I went there after work yesterday and picked this up. Obviously, I kind of tried my very best to find out everything that's wrong with it. I couldn't really found out like anything really wrong about it. Well, compared to American builds, I guess the biggest difference that I could find out was the edges of the fingerboard are rather sharp and the fret ends are not as smooth as in the American builds. Other than that, it's a great vibe. Like I don't know about you, but this sounds like a Strat to me. Nothing wrong with this. Yeah, so those are the basic sounds, and about the features, it has the vintage style tuners, which I really like. Let's just shut this down. So it has the vintage style tuners. These ones, I really like how these ones work when switching strings. It has the vintage style bridge with the 6 saddles, I mean 6 bridge screws, and old style saddles. I think that's fine. Old style trem. It has a rosewood fretboard, although it's not the other kind, it's this kind. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It still has the plastics on, as you can see. And what I thought that we'd do next is that this is still in the store settings. It has a set of 9s in here, so I thought that I'd just give you a quick run around, or perhaps not that quick, but a run around how I like to set my strats up. And it has been covered quite a few times, but perhaps something can be found out here. So I'll take a short break, and when we see each other again, I'm on my workbench starting to set this thing up. So see you then. So here's my little workbench. First thing I guess would be to get rid of these thin strings, and string winder like this is pretty useful here. Let's see. I know quite a few people like to cut the strings off, but I don't like that myself personally, because it's very much more easy to get them in the recycling if I keep them whole. It's a little bit of a more hassle to get them out of the guitar, but still I do feel like it kind of saves trouble when I'm getting the strings to recycling. Yeah, I think that's enough. So it just pulls out, and now this is a tangle, so I need to get this sorted out so I can pull it from the bridge. Sometimes I do regret it at this point, but as you can see now I have a complete string here without any ends, so it's really easy to kind of wrap it a couple of times and put it inside like this. And now it's very easy to get this thing into the recycling bin instead of getting some loose bits there. You know, I'm missing some tools here. Aha, here I go. Some screwdrivers. I think at this point it would be wise to remove the back plate, so it's a little bit easier to get those strings out. And I do have to adjust the claw when I'm switching to a heavier set of strings. And I'm spying that I might still need another bigger screwdriver for that. And here's a good tip that I can't really demonstrate right now, except that I can. I keep good care that I don't drop any of these screws out, so I use the package of this screwdriver tool set to keep the screws so I don't lose them. These electrician's tools are really the best, because you can just hold it like this and turn it with the other hand. No need to do it like this. But this is fun also. Okay, the back plate is off. I remove the plastic from the back plate. Some interesting looking wood there. I don't actually know what the wood is here. And to be honest, I don't much care. If it sounds good, it sounds good. And I can see some plastic here also. Getting that out also. And then it's just a matter of getting the rest of the strings out. I think we will skip this. I guess I could mention that if you're doing this on a Floyd Rose, you really shouldn't do this like this, because I remove all of the strings at once, and that's a no-go for Floyd Rose, since the trem isn't, it's floating, it's in the name, it's a floating trem, so it will just drop out. And it's a real hassle to get it back on. Maybe I could talk a little bit about why the 60 style Strat is my thing, even though that's very much before my time, at least 20 years before I was born. Well, to be honest, I have the American Professional that you've seen, which has all the accoutrements of like a modern build. It has some really nice features like the 2-point trem, which is really nice for the hands. Works well, keeps in tune well. The only thing I don't like about that build is the tuners are the wrong kind. I much prefer these vintage style tuners, as we can later on see. It's so easy to get the strings on. Just one more to go. And the pickups in these 60s style Strats are a little bit more low powered, I guess, and bright, so I can get the tones I want from these pickups. The bad side, and the neck relief is adjusted from here, so I have to remove the neck if it turns out that the relief needs to be adjusted, but let's see if that happens. We'll burn that bridge when we get there. At this point, it's a little bit annoying to get the rest of the plastic off the pickguard. Let's see if I can ease those knobs out with the help of a screwdriver. Yeah, that works wonders. Otherwise the plastic gets stuck in there and it's impossible to get it out. Let's just see if I can. Where does it start to come loose? It's already quite stuck in there. I once made the mistake of not taking it out as soon as possible, and then it was really stuck and it left some annoying glue spots in there, so getting at least the most of this thing out as soon as possible is a good thing. If it's been in the store for a couple of years, you might run into a little bit of trouble and get those glue spots in there, and that's no good. Still some remaining plastic in, I guess, if you want to really get it neatly off. you would have to remove most of the screws and things to get all of it out, but this is fine. At this point, when I remove these knobs, I want to make sure that when I put them back on, the numbers are facing in a direction that I kind of find logical. So I want, when it's maxed out, I want the number 10 to be facing me. So it's easy to see what the setting is. I can control it. If I look down, I see it's on 5 and it's about the halfway through. Yeah, this looks a little bit dry. So what I like to do next, I have a piece of cloth that I use for this. I have some fretboard remedy and just put some of it to the cloth, not too much, and get it to the fretboard. I need more than that, definitely. Yeah. So the wood looks quite dry, so I want to get this on to remove it. This kind of is a conditioner and a cleaner at the same time. So you can remove a lot of the gunk that comes out. When I found out that quite often when I'm picking up new guitars with a dark fingerboard like this, my fingers get like all black when I play, and I suppose that's some of the dust of the fingerboard coming off. The instructions say that let it stand for 10 seconds before removing excess and buff the fretboard. And that's what I'm gonna do next. If you have a nitro finish, you should be pretty careful not to get any of this stuff on there, especially some of those like citrus based stuff can be acidic and damage the finish if you care about that kind of stuff. Much nicer. The first times I did this, I kind of made a horrible mess with all the excess oil. I put way too much in, so I kind of everything was in oil and it was all icky and sticky and felt really bad. But you just need a little bit does wonders. Yeah, currently my favorite set of strings for a Strat is a set of 10s, 10, 13, 17, 26, 36 and 46. It says here custom gauge, but I don't know what's custom about it. This is basically what I've seen. Maybe the bottom end is a little bit like more heavy. I don't know. Let's actually start with the low E. Here's some tip. I wonder if you can see that the way I like to do this, I pull the string taut and then I measure like 2 tuning pegs, 2.5 over the peg that it's going in, and then I pre-cut there. And you wanna have a good set of pliers for this. I used to use a flimsy little thing like this, and it was like I had to scrunch so hard to get it to break down, but with a really good set of pliers, or cutters, I guess it's much easier. It's just a breeze to do it. So it doesn't cost a lot, and it makes changing strings a lot easier. So what's the hassle there? Just put it in the slot, wrap it around, and then tighten it. I think it's a lot easier than getting a string inside a kind of a modern tuning peg. Just guide the string as you're tuning it so that it makes nice winds in there. I guess I could have a few more. Now I have 2 winds, but I think it will work. Oh, one thing I forgot to do, and I think now's the time to do it before I move on. A lot of the tuning stability issues in a Strat comes down to things having friction where it doesn't have friction. Well, it doesn't need to have friction. Like when you're doing the wobbly, what happens, the string slides over the bridge post and the nut. Those are the main points that it slides on or over. And I guess also you could have some motion here in the tuning peg. But now I loosen it a little bit again, get it out. And I like to put in some pencil in there. So it kind of, you have all kinds of products like nut saws and whatever, but this is cheap and around. I don't have to buy anything extra. Initially it does make your bridge or your nut look like crap, but it's definitely worth it. I think this is pretty round. You don't need anything extra here. And now that I put the string back on, I use the string to get more of that graphite in there. So there's a little hack for you. And I shall proceed in putting in the rest of the strings. So I suppose if you were doing this for a client, you would be more careful with how to handle the guitar, protect the body. If you care about getting scratches on the body, you could get something like a towel under there, so you won't get any scratches. But the way I see it, people pay quite a lot of money to get professionals to scratch your guitar up, so it's a lot cheaper, and you can kind of tell your own story with the guitar if you make the scratches yourself. Yeah. See that I don't mix them around. That's the worst if you put them in the wrong order. What happens is that then it might be that the string is too short, you cut it too much and you can't get it to fit. Or you can't get it to the tuning post again. The cutout part, I like to make a little loop out of it like this, so again, very easy to take into recycling instead of having like pieces, long pieces of string sticking out of the recycling bin. Okay, next is the 17. Here we are starting to run out of tuning pegs. It's not as easy to use the heuristic that I said before. At this moment I'll just eyeball it. Yeah, we're gonna approach the string tree now. It might make sense to put some pen under there also, but in my experience that doesn't make nearly as much difference as putting some in there in the nut. I don't know if you can see the little mark on my hand. Yesterday I went out to see some bands in the local club. Really nice place called Tukikohta here in Oulu. There were some stoner bands, some hardcore punk and stuff like that. Really great night. I've been hearing that live people use like modelers and profilers and no cabs, no huge amps, but at least there the stage was graced with 3 full stacks, like a Marshall bass amp with matching cabs, 2 cabs, and a couple of Marshall stacks, full stacks. I should be very clear on that. And the bands were bringing in their own heads to get the sounds that they want, but oh man, the sound was glorious. I guess I have no way of knowing whether all of that stuff was in use. It might have been like campers behind the stage, what do I know, but still, it's great. Okay, so I mentioned that on this end you run out of space or tuning pegs, if you will, when you're trying to measure out how much should you cut off. So the trick here is put the string on the tuning peg, grab it from where it passes the tuning peg, then move it back until you do have, I guess the G string would be, the G strings tuning peg would be the perfect one to use, and then you have your 2.5 tuning pegs that you can use to measure to cut the excess off. And this is pretty important to actually get rid of the excess, because if you don't, you can't get a set of nice winds on the tuning peg, and what happens is that you might risk the tuning stability. Because you're supposed to have like, make sure that the winds don't overlap. It comes from the tuning peg and starts getting those nice winds one below the other. And why does this thing matter? You might ask. Well, what happens here is that the winds push the string end down, So in this end it doesn't matter that much because there's this string tree here pushing it down, but there's supposed to be like an angle here so you don't get any kind of buzz because the string is over the, or it goes to directly there. So these winds pull the string a little bit back so you can get the tension between the bridge. And now the moment of truth. I will need to tune this up, and for this I have a small little practice amp that I can use. So I'm not looking for to get like a perfect tuning. But I do need to be kind of in the ballpark to see how the bridge is taking the extra tension from the thicker strings. And what happened there was that the thicker strings kind of switched the balance of the bridge, and you can see there it's, I guess you could see better from this side, it's pulling off, it's pulling up too much. And what you can do to help that issue, just do this. There's this contraption here. These springs are balancing the tension that comes from the strings. They pull it like this way, and the strings pull it back. And it's supposed to be at an edge, so you can kind of, it floats a little bit, but not too much. And I can see now that I'm missing one crucial tool. These small electrician's screwdrivers won't do the job this time. So, moment, I will be right back to check this. So this is more like it. And what you have to do now is to either get more springs in or adjust this claw. And I want to bring in more tension. I guess if I add in a fourth string, I make it a little bit stiffer. And for this guitar, I want it floating quite freely so I can do some trem stuff more easily than with my other Strat. So I'm not gonna do like a complete, I don't want the flush across the body. I just add a couple of turns here to get it better suited for this. Yeah. Now it's a total game of doing adjustments and getting it balanced. This is, to be honest, a little bit tedious stuff. Let's put in clean sound. It's easier to tune. Nice amount of wobble there. Yeah. So next, let's see how much does it. So you can get a semitone out of it, and that's about how much I would like to have leeway. And the next thing I think would be to check the neck relief. Yeah, that's it. So, or is it the action? Let's see how the action feels like. Well, to contradict myself even once time, I would like to check the neck relief, because otherwise I might set the action too low when I'm starting to set the neck relief. So if you don't know, there's a truss rod in there, and what happens is these strings kind of pull the neck this way around, and the truss rod inside the neck is balancing that pull, so it pulls it that way around. And you're supposed to have a slight curve, a slight relief on the neck, and I'm sure there are like good numbers on how much that should be, but I always kind of eyeball it, and it seems that I have to adjust the neck. This is so annoying. This is super annoying, because at this point, as you can see, there's no adjustment there. So I have to remove the neck. Yeah. Let's get cracking. So I'm gonna loose the strings a little bit. But not too much, so they don't come off completely. Let's make an experiment actually. To avoid getting them pulled off, I'll just put a cable in there to keep the strings in place. And then a bit of surgery. And get this trim away from here. So there's supposed to be a spring in there, but I removed it because I don't need it to be that stiff. I kind of like it to be loose like that. Now it's just a matter of loosening these screws. And I suppose if you're really careful about it, you don't want to kind of loosen them all in one go. It's better to kind of loosen a little bit so that you don't get the problem that it kind of strips the wood. It's coming loose now. Let's see. It should pop out now. no biggie. This neck has been manufactured in June the 10th this year, and there's a serial number here and some markings, some hieroglyphs from the makers. And yeah, so I need something that looks a little bit like that to adjust it. I don't have the exact tool, but let's see if there's something in my tool set to make this adjustment. I guess this could work. And okay, so there's too much neck relief. It's bowed this way. So what I need to do is add some tension to the truss rod. And how that is done is well, this doesn't actually fit. I need another tool. Just a moment. Yeah, as I was saying, there's too much bow in this direction, so I need to tighten the truss rod a little bit. And I hope this fits. Yeah, this fits perfectly. So I will tighten it. So clockwise tightens it, counterclockwise loosens it. And here, even though it's a complete hassle to get the neck out and in, it wasn't a big difference. So I'll just give it, let's say, half a turn. Yeah, that should do it. Once you get the, oh damn, I missed one string. The E string is loose now. No biggie. Well, once you get the hang of this procedure, you kind of doesn't feel as scary anymore as it used to do. But it is a complete hassle. Yeah, now. It would be pretty useful to have a power tool here, but I think with the power tool there's like a temptation to just drill it in one go, and I don't think that's good for the neck, because you might risk stripping the wood. Not sure if I'm just being a nervous Nelly here, but this is the way I like to do it. And anyway, you're not supposed to do anything rapid here, like careful small adjustments do a lot of difference. Yeah, I kind of feared that this would happen. Some necks are more stable, and if you switch string gauges from 9 to 10, it shouldn't change that much, but I suppose it can be that it was a little bit off already. So now it's just a matter of getting the string back in. And so as you can see, it's really no hassle to get the string in a vintage tuner. It's really easy. Yeah, tuning it about. way off now, of course. I should do this actually in a playing position. How's the neck relief now? Yeah, that's more like it. I mean, it's bound to settle in just a little bit more after the guitar kind of settles in. And how does the action feel now? So for most of this stuff, I know there's like measurements that you can use, but you can use a feeler gauge to see how much there's a difference between the fret and the string, and of course you could also use something like a plectrum, because they usually have a set thickness that you can use, but for me it's mostly like I want to yeah, I was about to say that I want to just to test it out how it feels. Okay, at this point the action feels quite nice. I should now stretch the strings a little bit to get some kind of stability in there. And here's a tip that I've been shown, is that you can pull here and actually move your fingers like this. So it kind of gets the pull to evenly between the different sections of the strings. I've also heard that this doesn't actually make any kind of difference. What actually happens is it's getting these windings taut. And check the tuning again. Yeah, that's starting to feel like it. I guess I like to have my action a little bit higher than most people, and that's basically because I want to have this kind of this fretboard radius is rather high. I should say 7.25 of an inch. So what can easily happen that if you bend on the E string, it dies because it catches onto the frets. No problem like that here. And if I want to do something like when I whack the strings like there's a slight like rattle, but not too much. So I want it to sound out when I really hit the strings. It should sound a little bit different, but it should not like cause any kind of problems. And another reason why I like these thicker strings is that when I hit, there's like a moment where it kind of gets a little bit sharp, and then it kind of eases onto the pitch of the string, and that effect is much lesser with a thicker set of strings. I guess you could say that getting an even thicker set of strings would be even better, but at the moment with a guitar that has a scale length like this, tens are kind of perfect. You can see now, because I don't have the, well, actually it does stick. Well, anyway, I don't want to have it like completely stiff here. The last thing, well, not the last thing actually, but I do want to see how the action is before I do the last thing. So let's just test out the tremolo. Not perfect, but surprisingly good. Let's say you're doing like something like rock blues stuff. Okay, here you're clearly out of tune, but I guess you could do. I'm just still playing a little bit to get it. And you have to remember, I just swapped these strings on, so they're at their most unstable, I guess, before they lose out. So, few points at this moment. The setup makes a huge difference. You don't need locking tuners, you don't need a floating trem. Well, I guess if you're really going like Slayer type, Kerry King wobble, you might need a locking trem, but this should work out for most situations rather well, and you don't have all the hassle of a floating trem. It's much easier to maintain. Yeah, the final thing that I kind of almost forgot would be to check the intonation. And let's see if my old ears are working. So how do you check the intonation? Well, let's take the 6th string, the E string, you pluck it out, and this is pretty important to have it in a playing position, so pluck it out. And then you press on the 12th fret, and if it's the same pitch but an octave higher, your action is great. Well, seems pretty good to me, at least like what I hear, but let's see what the tuning machine or the tuner says. some sense of, and I hope I have the correct tool size here. What am I thinking about? This is not the tool that you use for this. You need a screwdriver, So the adjustment is done from this end, and there's a pretty great like rule of thumb how to do it, and that I heard from that pedal show, and that's the flat fret forward. But actually, one friend of mine kind of explained that it started making a lot more sense. So if it's like flat, well, what does that mean? It means that there's too much string between these points. And you should make it shorter. So let's do that. I guess you should actually loosen the string before doing this, other you might break it off. It's almost dead on. I think that's about as accurate as this Seiko can do. It sounds great. So let's repeat that process with the rest of the strings. Dead on. D string is just a little bit flat, so I turn the screw counterclockwise to move the fret forward, or the bridge saddle piece forward. Pretty much. So this is actually rather close as well. This is again just a little bit flat, so and this is pretty odd. Usually for new guitars I have to do this like the other way around. It's usually I have to move the saddle pieces back, but for this setup what happens I guess was that since this might have moved just a little bit, so then it kind of makes a little bit of difference. I've lately done this on hardtails, so then it doesn't affect that much. Now pretty much dead on. Yeah, that was a long section. I think I'll probably have to cut that a little bit. And the next thing we're gonna do is go back to the playing area and have a listen how it sounds with the new setup. See you in a moment. Yeah, back in the playing room. It's turning out to be a really long video, but I hope you can skip to the interesting parts. I will put in some timestamps, but let's see how it sounds now after the setup that I did. So the neck pickup and the ultra gain channel 1 on maxed out volume. that chord is beautiful, but it's so hard to get it to sound right. So if you want to try it out, it's your middle finger on the D string. This is the 9th fret. Your little finger on the G string on the 11th fret. Your index finger, this one right here on the B string on the 8th fret, and your ring finger on the E string on the 10th fret. I don't remember what that is, some kind of 7th chord, but anyhow. Yeah, I think that's about enough for this video. It's gonna be so long already. But yeah, I really dig this guitar in the store, and now that I have the setup to my liking, I dig it even more. It's really nice to have a rosewood fretboard on a Strat also, even though I guess my favorite is the maple one, but this feels so good, especially after putting in some of that fretboard oil. The pickups are great. The hardware is great. The wiring is really, I should say, improved on the period correct one, because the tone knob here affects the bridge pickup like it should. So it's not period correct, I guess, but this is so useful compared to the at least 50s wiring, where I think it's the middle pickup then. Yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you found something interesting in there, and see you next time. Bye bye.